Hi, welcome to the Creative Pathways podcast. My name's Fiona.
And my name is Keith. Okay, today we're going to give a talk about the inner world and the outer world. We're going to talk about basically how the processes of your thinking and the processes of your emotions and how you orientate them or how you direct those internally will create new things for you in the future. Okay, so for example, it's well known that if we think positive, things happen. And it's a truth we can see, it's self-standing truth, but it's not as simple as that, is it?
No, it's hard to think positively.
Yeah, it's hard. It's not as simple as that, is it?
No.
So, how do you mean by it's hard to think positively?
Well, if you're not in a positive frame of mind, then it's very hard to keep thinking positively if your inner feeling is that everything's falling apart.
Right. So then we have to look at what stage of life are we actually in? So if we can admit that we're in a state of falling apartness, then we say, okay, I know I'm in a falling apart state. And that is a process that I can't really just change like that. I've got to find, in a way, the bottom to it, or I've got to find a conclusion to it.
Don't you think, though, that to change the inner thinking, that you've got to change it on a physical level as well as a mental level?
Yeah, I would say you got to feel it, and you got to feel it in the body. I think also you got to feel the shock. I mean, I can think of my own shock points through my life. A lot of it relates to early life. And those shock points create not just a feeling which, for example, shortness of breath, physiological reactions which slow you down in the moment, make you less resourceful in the sense of words or positive emotions because you're closing down, because that's what you did in the initial experience when you were 2, 3, 5, 7, 12 years old.
Yes. Well, I often say to my clients is to actually do something physical to get themselves going. Something as mundane as cleaning a cupboard out.
Yeah.
Just to get the focus going.
Sure. It's about, I think, realizing where you are realistically, isn't it?
Yeah.
And at the same time, not condemning yourself to think or believe that just because you're feeling in such a powerful way, that's your lifelong state.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm a depressive. I mean, I've heard people say, I'm a depressive. Well, okay, that's a very powerful statement to make. It's also a self-sentencing to a state of mind and state of bodily function that is undermining everything in your life. So we have to be really careful what we say. We've got to be careful what we feel, and we've got to be careful we don't just keep repeating it blindly just because we always have. So awareness, that awareness is very, very important. Where am I now, and do I want to be there?
Yeah, and I think sometimes just taking small bites and giving yourself a kick and cleaning a drawer out actually really helps, because when we're in the depression, we are focused in that depression. So if we push ourselves for something mundane that's not difficult, then we find that we push ourselves out of that focus of the depression, even if it's only for half an hour or so. But the problem with getting out of something is literally...
Are you allowed to use that word now? Problem.
Oh, sorry.
No.
The challenge.
Yes. This word is a banned word now. It's not a problem, it's a challenge. Okay. Sorry about that, but... Okay.
The challenge is to push yourself to do something that takes your focus out of yourself and into another area.
Yeah.
And if you do something and you achieve it, which, let's face it, cleaning out a drawer is fairly easy, then you can look at that and actually feel pleased with yourself, which gives you the endorphins to start feeling pleased.
Yeah. 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 Like I have this thing, from doing yoga, from yoga books when I was a kid. I learned from these old musty books in the library. Doing this where you put the is that what finger is that? Number one or first finger? What would you call it?
Index.
Index. Is that your index finger?
Yeah, I think
And your
it is,
thumb,
yeah.
yeah? So you do that on both hands and you do that kind of type hold. And I've done that since I first started about when I was 14. I can actually do that and I can feel myself beginning to find my life purpose just by holding that shape. And that's absolutely not a lie. That's absolutely
Yes,
true.
but that's because you've done it since you were a kid.
And because I believed the first time I did it, I was accessing my spirit.
Yeah, but I really do feel that we're talking about, when nothing is working and we've lost our belief and we've lost our faith in everything around us, then we have to find something that starts to bring that faith back. And that's difficult for human beings because we, like you with the sound and the fingers, that gives you a sense of presence. So we have to find something that gives us a sense of presence.
It's about, I think basically it's about that presence, yeah. So what does that actually mean, that presence? That presence is basically being here now. I think so, being here now. When I put those fingers and that thumb together and I squeeze and I breathe deeply, it's like it gathers me into this moment. It brings me in to this moment. And then there's a realization in this moment, holding the finger and thumb, breathing deeper. Like an old teacher of mine, a great teacher, told me, each breath is a lifetime. And that is a very powerful thing. So each breath means it's a lifetime. I've thought about that. And
so what would you suggest for someone who they've lost everything. They've lost their faith. They've lost their belief. They don't feel the world or anybody around them is listening to them. What would you suggest that they do to bring themselves back into a place where they can begin to rebuild again?
I would say, work in the belief and the process of, and it's a hard one to get hold of that the way you feel is, and the experience you've been through, no matter how painful, is one experience and only one of a myriad ways that you could have experienced that.
Yes.
So if you can get hold of that concept, you can realize that within you are resources, emotions, mindsets, and reactions, nervous reactions that you can alter in relation to that. And you can bring a focus onto feeling and going through that process. And you can work at the same time on experiencing that with a different emotional content.
But we have to have somewhere to start.
Yeah, but you're good at that. You do that. I've seen you do that. So, but how do you teach it?
This is why I choose to use, if you like, everyday things rather than take it into a more belief-based exercise. The simple thing that I've found throughout my life, when I've lost all faith, then I need to get back into myself through a physical act that is linked to me and linked to what I love. And most people, they love the environment, their home that they live in. So taking the time to start fixing something, tidying something, doing something in the home, it is a good place to start, I feel.
Yeah. But you said a belief based what was it, feeling or attitude to the change. It can never be about just belief.
No.
That's true. To be deep enough to bring about inner, what I would call in your psyche, actual structural changes in your psyche, and your psyche being your collection of mental and emotional patterns. To bring about real change in that, a feeling has to have a reality. It has to bear reality. So I think basically, with my own experience of coming through illness and deciding how well I was going to get inwardly in the illness, and remembering the feeling of I can bring about these changes, and hearing certain, well, doctors even saying that people won't be able to do this, for example. And that feeling of laughing inside. Yeah, actually laughing and saying, you're wrong. That's not going to be the way it is. And that absolute belief that there is a life force within us that is stronger. I'm not saying it can always work, but stronger than the physiological and physical level, which is the mind itself, and that the mind is not just biological. The mind is consciousness. And I found that to be true. So I believe that our consciousness can change our biology.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree with you. But I think that sometimes we need to have a kind of kickstart to find the consciousness and to find the belief in ourselves.
I think it's an experiment as you go along.
Yeah.
You know, there's no, on the process of recovery, whether that's you're recovering from smoking cigarettes or recovering from a lifetime of alcohol, or recovering from always being a victim and choosing partners that victimize you, whatever it is you're recovering from, a process of recovery takes one step, the first step.
Yeah.
You have to take that first step. But I think you have to believe in yourself, don't you? Enough. And this is a bit you've talked to me, you would discuss this before. You've got to believe that you deserve to make that change, or it doesn't work. And that is a key, essential part.
It is, because at that point in life, I feel it's quite difficult for people to believe that they deserve to get better. And if they've lived many, many years, as a lot of people have with depression, then the actual feeling is really right through the body, the consciousness, everything. So actually feeling better feels not change, but it feels strange.
Uncomfortable.
Yeah, not normal.
Yeah. It's like self-cutters, for example. Well, we won't go deep into that because it's a very, very deep psychological thing. People actually cut themselves and they watch themselves bleed a little bit and they like the pain. Now, there's a process behind that, and somewhere it's like letting off psychic energy at the physical level to feel better. The first step they need to find is to let off that physical energy without actually cutting or causing any physiological problems. The second step is a realization that they self-damage because they feel worthless.
Mm.
You know, they feel like they are worthless.
Yeah.
So how do you help a person if you're working in therapy or you're working with yourself trying to do this? How do you make yourself, or how do you make your clients, if you're working professionally, feel their self-worth? It's a very important point, isn't it?
Yeah, and I mean, this is why I always recommend a very small step. Something that is totally, in some ways, ridiculous, so that they can finish the task and sit back and say, I've done that, and that makes me feel good.
Yeah, I can see. I mean, I've seen you work, and I know that works. I know that what you do works. You work with your clients, and I work with my clients, and we very rarely talk about our techniques because they are very different in some ways. But we talk about the generalities of the work we do in bringing people out of what I would call basically states of non-function or half functioning or damaged functioning or basically not having life resources, positive life resources psychologically, and how to bring them into a point where they can feel alive, happy, and psychologically totally a part of the world that they choose to be in.
I think the other thing is when we get into a state of depression, then we lump everything together. So instead of things being a series of small, oops, I was going to use that word problem again, challenge.
Politically incorrect
I'm sorry,
word.
yes, I'm very, very bad. But we lump it all together. So it all becomes a very big ball of stuff instead of what really is happening is it's little bits of things.
I can see this personally in our lives because we both had things to overcome, and I have had the illness and getting through an illness, and basically what I felt was I worked it out in my brain, and I chose various books, didn't I? And that I really carefully chose, and I studied certain bits until I felt something clicked, and then I moved on. I didn't finish that book because I felt that book I didn't need. It's using intuition too. The intuition says you need that bit, Keith. Oh, you don't have to finish this book, but that book there that's where the intuition comes in. It's like one book on your bookshelf, shining and shouting at you. Keith, read me. And then you pick the book up and you think, I've got to start at page 90. Forget the rest.
Yes.
You got to page 90 and intuition tells you that's where you start. And you read it to page 140 and that's it, you put it back.
But I think a simple way to put that is...
Was that not simple?
Well, it was, but I was thinking of a simpler way, which is to say, I feel for this book and I will open it and start from where I open it. And I'm only saying that simply because no matter what you've been through, you have all the tools within you. You've been teaching these things for years, and therefore your intuition kicked in. But some people, if they've been in a bad state for a long time, they don't trust themselves. They will read the whole book, get bored with it halfway through, and probably miss what they're actually supposed to be reading.
That's actually a good point because I've learned over the years to trust this with books because I have had phenomenal book collections. Still have another one.
Oh, yes.
And I used to have this kind of feeling like I had this schoolmaster sitting on my back telling me he must read the full volume and everything. And then, you must read all 12 volumes of this particular writer, Carl Gustav Jung, or whoever it was, I was reading at that time. I had to read it. And then I realized that I didn't, because a lot of this stuff applied to the general work that a certain psychiatrist or psychologist or healer was working with. And your intuition can fine-tune this down to that page that you need. And that's where the magic comes in, of the clairvoyance or the feeling or pure intuition. So you might just read page 90, 91, 92. Then that's it. There's another book somewhere there. Or there's something on the internet there that you need to see. And then you trust that intuition to lead you to the next building block for the new structure that you're building within yourself. And I do see it as a building of a structure.
I agree with you, but this is why I feel that we have to teach ourselves that we can achieve things. Because the problem, do you see that slips out of my mouth? The challenge, I'm going to say problem, because for me, it is a problem. It is a problem we need to overcome. And I truly feel that if we take it in small steps, then we gather the good feelings in ourselves that say we can do this, and then we can move forward, and then we can start stepping out and doing bigger things.
Absolutely. And then go back again and talk about that, the feeling. You see, why are there teachers of language, why on the news, etc., they're using changing words? Well, it's coming mainly from neuro-linguistic programming, which was a set of stuff designed to create changes in our state, psychological state. So they're starting to use this on BBC and other countries and news outlets, etc., to try and make us be more positive. But the word problem itself is not a problem if you see that problem is basically something that makes you feel really, really good once it's no longer existing.
Solved.
So it's solved. So a problem is solved. So problem, solution, problem, solution. Problem, solution is the same as overcoming a challenge. So actually it's just playing with words. It doesn't matter if you use the word problem or you use the word challenge. What matters is how much tenacity you have in your mind and your emotions. It says, I'm going to overcome this. I'm not going to let this stop me, and I'm not going to stay broken. I think really the bottom line is to say to yourself, just because mum was like this, or father was like this, or my brother's like this, or the background or the town I came from has this attitude, I don't have to have that. I don't have to be a particular religion. I don't have to be a particular whatever. I am me, and I have the choice to create my own psychological understanding of the world.
So we have to bring this to a close soon. So I'm going to give you a bit of advice, and then Keith's going to give you a bit of advice when you start this process. My advice is to choose something really, really small that deep down inside you know you can do and achieve. And then the next day, choose another thing and just keep going. Every day, one small thing that you achieve, and when you sit down, when you've finished, you feel that was good. It takes time.
Okay. My advice goes alongside this. It's the other side of what Fiona's saying. See something that you love, something that you really, really love. It could be to learn to play music or read music. It could be to sculpt your body by working out with weights or etc. It could be to learn or use a bicycle so you shape your body in a certain way and feel good about movement and being in nature. It can be something small or big, but the thing is, get that feeling that first that you really want to do this, because you know when you're good at it, you really will enjoy it. It's no good just doing it for the sake of doing it. So we cycle, for example, and when we can, because of lockdown, and we're going crazy, we can't get on our bicycles. And when we do it, we love it. And it was a great choice. We bought some lovely bicycles, and we have our dogs on the back in the carriage, and we go out in the middle of nature, in the middle of fields, get stuck in them sometimes, but we're doing what we want to do. So make sure it's got a fun value to it, that it actually makes you feel happy in achieving. It gives you happiness. Happiness now, in the moment, is one of the biggest motivators you can have. No matter what past feeling you've got, try to feel the happiness now, in each breath, in each moment. By being in that activity, you are opening the door to that happiness and that feeling of being in the moment.
Absolutely. Well, bye-bye, folks. Take care. Have a good week.
Okay, and it's been nice talking to you. Bye-bye. Have a good week. Thank you.